Hey, what's up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to Nation's Corner. I am front row as always. Joining me is our tried and true greatest truck driver of all time, Tony Justice, and for the first time ever, my wife Shannon. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Hello.
Pretty good. How are you doing, man?
Awesome. We got an exciting show tonight. We have a very special guest. Taeler Hendrix is going to be joining us in just a moment. And I've asked Shannon to join us because along with being a pro wrestling fan, Shannon is an accomplished author, published author, and has taken many courses, so is far more qualified to have that conversation than I am. So, Shannon, thanks for joining us tonight.
Hey, no problem. Glad to meet her.
Yep, awesome. Tony, what's up with you? What was your week like?
Oh man, well, it's pretty good. I delivered. I got done in Baltimore last weekend and had a great time, and then made my way back to Texas, and I'm at home right now, obviously. Getting to enjoy some home time and be back on the road Tuesday, ready to do it all over again.
That's practically a vacation for you.
Right. Got to get it in when I can,
Yep.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of trips planned, right? We've got cruises and wrestling trips, and like half of us are going to Mission Pro in May, and there's a Baltimore trip planned, and there's and our group is just everywhere. Like the nation,
etc.
It seems like every week there's another group of nation members gathering somewhere across the country, and it's really cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. So without further ado, I'd like to bring in our special guest. She is a former two-time OVW champion. She is a former Queens of Combat champion. She is an inaugural Queens of Combat tag team champion. She has been on Impact, Ring of Honor, WWE. She has an exciting podcast on Tuesdays called Talks with Taeler Hendrix on Russo Brand. And let me bring Taeler in. She also has a very exciting YouTube channel, youtube.com/Taeler Hendrix. Taeler, welcome to the show.
Thank you all so much for having me. What an introduction. Thank you.
I probably missed a few things because you've got all these accomplishments. You're doing all kinds of cool stuff. And an accomplished author. I meant to mention that as well.
That's the important part, right?
It is.
Yes.
Okay, maybe to me.
Seriously, I think if my mother's proud of anything that I have personally done, it's becoming a published author. My mother was a huge reader, and growing up, she was always into books. She actually wrote her own book as a teenager. So I think, published author is definitely pretty high up on the list.
I am a quarter of the way through my third book, and so I actually came out of the murky depths of the comment section just to talk to you about it, because it's to me a really big achievement. It's very hard, and I've read them, and they're adorable, by the way.
Oh my God! Thank you so much. Just hearing somebody else talk about the process of writing a book, people might think it is so easy, and it's not. Nope. There'd be a great idea, and if you don't get it written down right away, it just pops out of your head like Pringles out of a can. It's gone. And then second guessing everything, and then trying to get artists, it's a lot that goes into it. So thank you for that.
Now, I'm sorry, honey, I don't want to commandeer your interview.
Go ahead.
Okay. So did you always want to write children's books, or have you had some other ideas rattling around in your brain?
Well, Shannon, honestly, I always wanted to be a Renaissance woman. I want to do it all. I want to see it all. I have one life, and to me, I want to, at the end of my journey, I want to be able to look back subliminally, so to speak, at the little girl that I was who had these big, lofty dreams, and kind of say to her, we did some epic shiz. Thank you so much for, daring to dream, because I think for me personally, I'm a preschool teacher. And I also worked for the YMCA for their after-school programs and their summer camps. So I got to work with a lot of different kids from a lot of different walks of life, so a lot of different circumstances. I was a personal aid and care for kids with Asperger's and autism. I worked with people with Down syndrome. I even got to work with a girl that was deaf. So for me, I saw it was pretty much any sort of walk of life. There was one thing that they all had in common, just one thing in particular. It was everybody projecting their own limiting beliefs onto children. And that
Okay.
just blew my mind. That drove me so crazy, because I think all of us right now have all felt that. He's saying, oh, well, you just go get that 9 to 5, or, oh, well, you couldn't possibly achieve that. You're not pretty enough. You're not successful enough. You don't have a big enough house, a nice enough car, this many labels, that many followers and subscribers, swipe rights, whatever the case may be, right? And so when I was working with all of these kids, I saw that so much. And I found to be true that the one commonality is that small minds kill more dreams than the act of children growing up with confidence and self-esteem and integrity, and getting the tools to go out into the world and try, even if they fail, at least they could have tried to achieve those dreams. And so that's why that was the main factor in why I started with children's books. I know that's kind of long-winded, but to me it was a very interesting notice as a young 20-something-year-old wrestling and then being a teacher and seeing all these different things.
To me, that seems, sorry, honey. To me, in reading the books, that seems very on point with the whole book about Trish and her wish, the idea that you want to do something that isn't done, that you can't have those dreams, bigger dreams, right? And they try to squish her down, and she lives a bigger life than what they told her that she could, even though she's been rejected 100 times. So is there a little bit of autobiographical content there?
In each one of them, yes. Trish the Fish was actually a Fish with a Wish. Trish was actually based off a haiku I had to write in 6th grade. So I've been sitting on that idea for many years, just in my back pocket. And Nosy Rosie and the Secret Surprise about Rosie the Elephant was actually last book that I published last year, I believe. That was actually the most recent project that I had worked on. I started working on that when I was coming in and out of WWE as an extra. And when I got told no after my WWE tryout, I really went into this sort of journey of self-discovery, so to speak, like in essence to say, when one door closes and it was never really open, who's to say you can't knock down that door? Or who's to say that that may have been a blessing in disguise, because now you have a different opportunity to perhaps go out and achieve even more wild dreams than what you had set for yourself. Maybe there's a bigger picture there for you, but you have to figure out who you are first and foremost before you can even do that. So that was the really big part behind Nosy Rosie. And then my first book, It's Not Easy Being a Sloth. Well, first off, sloths are my favorite jungle animal besides Black Panther. I love sloths so much. Sloths. Instagram has so many amazing videos on YouTube. But that one was just about how many people, the wrestling business too, and how like a lot of people try to put you in a box and say you can't do something and you don't fit this mold, and they want to, again, project all their limiting beliefs onto you for their own means, their own agendas, and then you need to learn how to believe in yourself. That impossible really means part of Nosy Rosie. It's not easy being a sloth. So yeah.
I see that too. I see that in real life with our son. Our son is 21 years old, and they spent his entire high school career telling him, you might work at Starbucks, you have to pick the right degree, blah, blah, blah. Instead of saying, oh my God, you get to go to college, it's going to be amazing. It's that they temper all of their enthusiasm and they squish them down, as opposed to saying, my God, this is going to be amazing. And
Shannon,
you're right. It's nice to have.
You are absolutely spot on, Shannon. I think I have a cousin who's 18 turning 19, and I love him so dearly. He's so precious to me. I told him when he turned 18, do not get caught up in all the pressure that is coming your way. You do not have to have your life figured out yet. You do not even have to understand who you are yet. You're supposed to go out into the world and figure that out through experiences. You still have rose-colored goggles on. Just because you can vote and all these other different things does not necessarily make you an adult. Like, go out and figure out how to be that adult you want to be and what you want to do and all this other stuff. And I think that 21-year-olds, it's the same thing. It's absolutely the same thing. There's all this pressure, just figure it out, just like experience. Become who you're.
Yeah, you're allowed to be wrong too. You're allowed to say, you know what, I tried that, it didn't work, I'm going to try something else, and it's not a mistake. It just didn't work, and sometimes that's okay to just walk away and go, I learned. That's good enough.
Heck yes, I say fail. fail, and everybody's going to think that's ridiculous for whoever's going to be listening to this, but fail. Please go out and try whatever it is you want to do and fail. Please fail, because failure is a necessary step to success. You learn more from failure than you do from success, and when you fail and when you're losing, you're going to find out who your real friends are. You're also going to find out how strong you truly are as a person. And to me, I forgot who said this, but I read this somewhere. They said rock bottom is the solid foundation upon which to rebuild your life, and once you get back to the top, the view is going to be amazing because you worked that much harder for it. So fail, please fail, because you're going to learn how to succeed and learn from other people's failures so you don't have to make those mistakes. Absolutely.
Yes. Wise words.
Yeah. And so it's interesting because like you did all this work during the pandemic, and we've seen a lot of people really utilize that downtime. Obviously, it was a terrible thing that we're going through or coming out of the other end, but there are some people like yourself that were able to take this downtime and make it a productive growth period. Was that something you consciously did, or it just sort of happened?
I'm not sure, honestly. I think yes and no, because yeah, that's actually a very good question. That's very difficult. I think yes and no. I think the pandemic, I think it presented an opportunity where it was like, why not me and why not now? And wrestling, I've been wrestling most of my life, like half of my life, pretty much. I started when I was just 17 years old. I was still in high school. I didn't know my hand from the elbow. I didn't know who I was. Got photo shoots, eyelashes, nothing. Oh gosh, it's embarrassing. Like every awkward adolescent moment was in wrestling. And that's there forever. Not just a family photo, but the internet, everything. So I always felt, I had to strive for perfection, strive for this, strive for that. Delaying goals, delaying moments, delaying happiness, and delaying success because, it's not perfect. It's not the right time. It's not perfect. So recovering perfectionist, I guess. Perfectionism or being a perfectionist, I think it's unfair because I think that putting your own standards onto somebody else and they're not you. And that could be a crushing weight to somebody else, or that couldn't even be a challenge to somebody to be like, all right, I can do that in my sleep, So I think I would say definitely recovering perfectionist for sure is how I would put that. So when the pandemic happened, I decided, you know what, stop delaying who I want to be and start actively showing people who I am as a person, not who other people want to believe about me and want other people to believe, but who I am as a person and all the things that I've ever dreamed of and gone after. So when all of this happened, I said, you know what? Why not me? Why not now? It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be honest. It just has to be candid. And so, if there's a spelling error or punctuation and grammar, which is not my strong suit, I can't remember anything because of wrestling, it's okay. Do it. If you want to get into podcasting like I did, and I didn't know about microphones and everything else, figure it out, get some help. And so that was kind of the attitude that I approached with everything, and hey, you got to bet on yourself before anyone else will, right? So I guess in a roundabout way, it was conscious, but it was also not.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And, I've watched some of your vlogs and I've listened to your podcasts and just briefly, like Shannon and I, our first women's wrestling show was Queens of Combat 2016. You were our champion.
Yep.
And as supporters of women's wrestling, that was our first show where we're like, holy crap, this is a thing like that's happening at an independent level. Mm-hmm. And we were so excited. We were like, we have to see all the shows. And We've been to all the shows, right? And you fast forward to today, and women's wrestling, there are major promotions all over the globe featuring women in prominent positions of athleticism and combat sports. And so much has changed in just that 6-year period. Obviously, it's been a longer journey than that. But for us as fans, we've seen so much change in that 6 years. But your career started, way before that. Like, how do you feel about, where we are today versus, in your debut back in like 07, 08?
it's a mixed bag, you know. I personally believe in being true with your authenticity and being honest, because I feel like when you have honest conversations with authenticity, you help other people, and then we can all be a part of someone else's survival guide. So, you know, how would I put this? Would it have been nice to have the opportunities that we see today back then? Oh, 1,000%. I would be lying if I said no. But however, I don't think I would be the person I am today if I had those opportunities way back then, like everybody else does now. You know, I had a lot of character building years, a lot of bone breaking years that made me the person I am today. So as much as I would like to say, yeah, I would have loved that way earlier in my career, I worked really hard to be the person I am right now, talking to both of you. So I don't think I would change that. But it is very nice to see other really deserving women getting opportunities. I would also like opportunities, but I have no problem working really, really, really hard for them. You know, I try to outwork myself every day. But the journey from the time that you mentioned when I debuted to now it's impeccable. It is amazing. It's awe-inspiring. These women are so talented. They are beautiful. They are fierce. I mean, I have so much respect for quite a few of them that it kind of circles around into objectification. like, you are on fire. You are so hot. Like, girl, do you like, you know? I love wrestling, whether it's men's wrestling or women's wrestling, doesn't matter. I've always loved wrestling. And so when I get to see other people succeeding, that's amazing, because that means it opens up more opportunity. And that's what I think this business is built on. It's built on childhood dreams, and the more opportunities there are, can seize those opportunities and fulfill their childhood dreams. And that's what's not to love about that. So I love what's going on. There's very little I would change about what's going on right now. But I definitely sense that there's been a shift in the character building aspect of the industry, where people are paying a lot less dues today than they did back when I was debuting. You know, the ring crew, and, you know, setting up the chairs and being the first one there, the last one to leave, paying for all these different seminars, and leaving your bag in the car so you don't seem presumptuous and pushy and egotistical, and then, you know, having that little manila envelope with your 8x10 and your resume, and showing up dressed to the nines, and then doing ring crew in high heels and like all this other craziness. But yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Now, do you think? Wait, hang on, honey. Wait a minute. Now, do you think that? Well, back when you started, social media was around, but it wasn't like it is now, right? Everything we do is steeped in social media, and the comments can be a pretty ugly place. Do you think that you would have been affected by how difficult social media interaction is for new people who don't have that self-confidence that you have now?
I think anybody with confidence can still struggle. I mean, some of the single most successful people in the world don't even look at comments. Why? Because what does that do for them? It does absolutely nothing. It tears them down. It is so much easier to tear a person down than it is to build a person back up after being torn down. And I wasn't always this person. That's why I said I fought so hard to be this person. I was not comfortable in my own skin my entire career. I always thought I was super ugly. I never looked at myself as beautiful. I always felt like I was too much of something for everyone. I was too fat. I was too skinny. I was too long in the tooth. I was too fair skinned, too redheaded, too wrestler. Yeah, I actually was told that one time. I'm too much of a wrestler. You know, don't wrestle like a man. You're a woman, and you know, just you're always too much of something for everybody. But I learned that those just aren't your people, and that's okay. There are billions of people in the world. You can't expect every single one of those billions of people to love you. And you kind of have to love yourself first and foremost. You know, cheer for yourself in the silence, let your success be your noise. And I was definitely, I don't like to say victim, but yeah, I definitely fell party to those brutal internet wrestling community comments. I mean, I didn't wear red lipstick for years because of a comment somebody made on a message board, of all things, about my face, wearing lipstick. You know, so I definitely think with how much it is today, just based off of how much I dealt with back then, with the burgeoning of social media, I can't even imagine. And believe me, we all still get it. It's just not everybody acknowledges it. I mean, what you feed grows, what you starve dies. If you're always acknowledging trolls, you're going to send out the message that, hey, the way to get interactions with so and so is by being a troll. So
yeah,
don't pay it any mind, really, and don't look at it.
I agree.
Well, that's an interesting. That's an interesting thing, because I wanted to ask you specifically about that, because in today's day and age, what we see on TV can be two-dimensional from a storytelling perspective, right? Good versus evil. It's all very classic and it's all good. But when we see things like, one of my favorite feuds of the last 10 years was Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch, because of the story they told on and off screen and away from TV. They gave you a completely layered three-dimensional story where the fans and some of the people in wrestling weren't really sure what was happening. And I thought it was just absolutely brilliant. And both of you as storytellers and writers can appreciate the craft that it takes to use social media to further storylines. Is that something that you pay attention to?
Absolutely, because I see people doing it right and I see people doing it wrong all the time. And when you have the ability to put people in disbelief, you get rid of their crushing reality for a while and make them believe that wrestling is real again. That's money. That's money. The business has been so exposed for so long. It's been left open. A lot of the nuances are now known. And sometimes it seems like there's more fans in the back than there is in the seat. There's definitely a shift in the dynamic, So when you have people that can tell such a mouth-watering, juicy, awesome money-making story, that's magic. Why would you not want to put that over? That's absolutely spectacular. That's what the business was made for people to be entertained. Whether that's for 5 minutes, whether that's for 6 months to a year. It really all depends. And Becky Lynch has been somebody that has really excelled at that in the last few years. And I love that for her. I genuinely love that for her. I love Becky Lynch. I've been supporting her back in her Shimmer days. And I really love Ronda Rousey. Like she laid a lot of truth bombs on the business that I think people weren't ready for. And you kind of have to love that authenticity, that gumption to be able to do that. So thank you so much for bringing them up. They are absolutely phenomenal. As well as AJ Styles. I love that man to death. But yeah, when you have people that can do that and blur those lines so well that even people in the back don't necessarily know what's going on, that's amazing.
Good stuff.
Well, Ronda's a good example too, because she came in from the outside, obviously being a household name and having the success that she did in MMA, and then she was able to carefully meld her style, her martial arts, with pro wrestling to a style that was so physical and believable that no one was going to poke holes in it, right? Because she is who she is. That she's capable of what she's capable of. And we're seeing Shayna Baszler, we're seeing, Sonya Deville, we're seeing the influence of MMA with female athletes throughout the pro wrestling industry. Do you gravitate towards that style of wrestling, or how do you feel about that?
Well, first off, Ronda Rousey is a badass in all respects. I think people need to put a little bit more respect on her name. Not only is she, one of the top selling UFC athletes of all time, she's also an Olympian, and she's a WWE superstar who puts butts in seats. That's the key thing. Who is selling? Who is making money? Who is putting butts in seats? Who is making people buy those pay-per-views, not out of an obligation? Oh, well, it'll pass the time. No, who is making people excited to want to be involved with wrestling again and wanting to go to these events and doing these things? So I think people need to put a little bit more respect on that, because when Ronda Rousey does well, it doesn't just help the women's division, it also helps the men as well, because it's a business. They all coincide together. It's not women versus men. I hate that. I hate that so much. We're all in this business. And when one gender succeeds, it doesn't mean at the expense of the other gender. Not at all. Not at all. It helps everyone. And I think that's missed. And I think Ronda Rousey does a great job of that. Roman Reigns has been excelling at that recently in WWE. Him and Paul Heyman, I keep using that word, but to me it's just so perfect. ingenious. They have such innate talent. It just exudes from them, and it's money. It is so good. So for me, I think her realism is definitely an attraction that I enjoy. I like that aspect. I like that style. But the reason why I like it is because it's different. It's not something that you see everybody doing. It's not watered down yet. There are some people that are doing it that maybe shouldn't. And I'm not saying WWE, I'm just saying in general. But Ronda Rousey is going to be Ronda Rousey. You can't duplicate her. There's only one Ronda Rousey for a reason. There's only one you, one Shannon, one me for a reason. So I like a lot of different aspects of wrestling. I like some strong style wrestling in there. I love authentic lucha libre, and I also really love like that Memphis, Tennessee stomp, old school, stuff down south. And I also really love like the East Coast style. Different parts of the country all have different styles, and it's so much fun to kind of blend yourself into it, so to speak, whichever show you're on. Like you're not necessarily, if you're smart, you're not going to have the same match in New York at the Hammerstein Ballroom that you would have, say in Nashville, Tennessee. You're going to switch it up a little bit. Just like you're not going to have the same match at the ECW arena that you would possibly have in, say, Vancouver, Canada. That's what's exciting. It's so different. And I really like that. I think it challenges you as a performer. And I think that's my favorite part, is being able to use your gimmick and blend yourself into working with whoever you're working with and create some really awesome chemistry and a really cool story. That would be my ultimate favorite part about the styles that you're referencing with Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Shannon and I have been in the room when Ronda's appeared at Raw, and the energy in the venue changes. Yes. Like shit's about to go down. Things just got really serious, and you're going to see something special. And you don't get that from very many people. Maybe Brock Lesnar, but not many others. And she's such an asset to the company. In fact, if you put her on the Peacock splash page for the pay-per-view for WrestleMania, 36 million subscribers are going to know who that is more than probably anybody else on the roster. So not only is she excellent as an in-ring competitor, she's coached by Paul Heyman behind the scenes, and she has a recognizable household. I think she's great. I mean, we're huge fans. So
it's hard to believe that at one point somebody was saying that, that she wouldn't headline, that women wouldn't headline, that they wouldn't draw money. And you think, really? Now you look at it and think, what a silly concept that was.
But see, people still say that. That's why you can't listen to all the negative noise. You have to block out the comments, block out the noise. People will have an excuse for everything. And that's, again, their own limiting beliefs, their own negativity that they want to project onto somebody else and drag them down too, because misery loves company for a reason. You can't be a candle in the wind and not expect to get blown out. That's what it's like. So Ronda Rousey has created awesome trust equity with the WWE universe. She's earned that. And, the WWE universe knows whatever she's in, she's going to deliver one way or another. And she has brand recognition from being an Olympian, from being one of the top sellers of all time with UFC, and now with the WWE and being a highlighted main eventer. That's brand awareness, because each wrestler, each superstar is a brand in and of themselves. And I think that that's something that should be taught in more wrestling schools, but isn't necessarily taught. And for the money that you pay for wrestling schools, you really, really should. And that's something that I think Lucha Patron does so well, is brand recognition and awareness. Like they just, the way they do things is just so remarkable to me. They are so true to themselves. They're authentic lucha libre, and just the way they build a show, and they're so loyal and communicative with their audience. It really makes you a true part of the show while being your own brand up with a bigger brand. It's amazing. And I think that needs to catch on more and a lot faster.
Yeah, I agree. I think I've only recently become aware of Lucha Patron, and I've seen them grow exponentially in recent months. And my communications with them have all been very positive. I could see that they're building a community. So I'm just super excited to see what they have coming up next.
Yes, it's so exciting. April 16th in Santa Rosa is their next show that I'm on. I'm super excited. The last time I was in Santa Rosa was January of 2020. So right before stuff hit the fan, and they've just given me a platform to be able to show everyone who I am as a performer, as an artist, as, you know, as an athlete and everything else. I love getting to work for them. The fans, they're the best out there. They are so loud. They're so into it. It makes you feel like when I was a kid watching it on TV. That's what Lucha Patron feels like every time I set foot in their ring. It is such an interactive experience with extremely loyal fans and tons of families. You'll see families of 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 people coming to enjoy it together as a family, like a big event. It's just the coolest experience. And then, you know, whatever you're doing in the ring is actually truly appreciated. Like those bumps that you're putting your life on the line to take, a lot of times go unnoticed, you know, and there it doesn't. Everything is noticed. They're so into it. They're so loud and crazy and awesome and loyal. It is so cool. I cannot wait to head back to Lucha Patron in April.
That's very cool.
Also, too, I just wanted to say that not only have I really enjoyed getting to work in front of those fans, I've also enjoyed working in the locker room with a lot of the people that I've been able to work with. You know, backstage, like I've gotten to learn a lot from Hernandez, who was recently on your show, and having him really just help me and kind of help me learn how to lift myself up has just been invaluable. And Extreme Tiger is such a pro, dating back to his TNA days and through on to today. His work ethic is top notch. Like, he is just such a great asset to any company, and I've really just enjoyed getting to learn from those kinds of men who have so much experience, and they're willing to teach if you ask for it, and I've just really felt blessed to have that at this point in my career.
It's always great to hear that veterans are willing to work with younger talents the way that, you know, guys like Hernandez are, because so often you see people, you know, the crotchety old guys just shaking their fists at the sky. But when you see that there's, you know, these seasoned veterans who are just wanting to make the business better, helping men and women, you know, throughout, it's very encouraging.
1,000%. You know, sometimes people say don't meet your heroes, but sometimes it really is worth it. You know, getting to learn. I learned so much from like Mickie James and Lisa Marie Barron. You know, just so many people. Bruce Pritchard, Vince Russo, Eric Bischoff. You know, I feel really blessed to have been able to listen and learn from so many different people who have achieved different variations of what I want to achieve or where I want to go or things that I am passionate about. So anytime I can name drop people to kind of put some positivity in their direction, I love it. Like I love getting to talk with Vicky Guerrero and, you know, getting to just all kinds of different people with different experiences that you can learn different things from, you know, to move forward in life.
Yeah, definitely. And so Taeler, I know I can't thank you enough for your time tonight, and I want to be respectful of your time, but before you go, I did bring something to show you. It's a Philip J. Coulson, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And of course, it's a Philip J. Coulson, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. badge.
Shut up, no way.
And as you know, Billy Koenig will tell you, lanyards are awarded on a case-by-case basis, right? So
that is tremendous. I so want to embody being the Madam Hydra of pro wrestling. I so do. Like it's so good. Like I have that villain in me, I swear. It was really cool. You know, so many people made fun of me and stuff for like putting that out on social media, but like I actually got it into like an email conversation with the casting people for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So
that's amazing.
Actually, like,
wow.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like to bring it back all the way to the beginning about my children's books, like it doesn't matter what anybody else says, even if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, you can still get somewhere. And nobody can take that stuff away from you. Like, nobody can take that email away from me. Like,
Yep.
no, nobody can take away that. You know, I got to go to WWE in 2015, and I had this like crazy experience. It was amazing. It made me feel so vindicated for all my training at OVW, and you know, all the stuff I'm doing now. You know, with releasing my first novel, and you know, running my own YouTube channel and my podcast, and being a contributing writer for Fightful and Pop Raps. Like, nobody can take that away, really. It's so amazing. So that's so cool that you have that. And Shannon, I am so happy that you both went to Queens of Combat. I really loved, you know, getting to work those shows with all of those women. I wish, you know, Chelsea Green and I didn't have that big, huge gap where we could have been able to, you know, extend that run. That would have been so awesome. You know, and then, I love wrestling, and I want to, you know, just say thank you for having me on. You know, when Lucha Patron approached me with this opportunity, I was like, absolutely, let's talk wrestling. Let's talk about Taeler Hendrix for a little bit. Let's talk about pro wrestling and everything that's going on. You know, I blocked out an hour for you guys, so you do not have to worry about wasting my time. When I get to talk to people about stuff I love, it's never a waste of time.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, again, we can't thank you enough. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time, since the first time we met. Before you go, one more thing. Shannon and I are from Massachusetts, and we understand your struggle. We grew up in Massachusetts. We grew up near Worcester, Massachusetts. So, you know, fellow New Englanders, we understand.
You guys, you can always take them. You can take yourselves out of Massachusetts, but Massachusetts never leaves you. If I'm really, really steamed and like really wicked angry, my Boston comes out. It is a whole different experience.
And you can recognize each other, right? You can tell. I mean, you know, if John Cena opens his mouth, I go, oh yeah. You know, I mean, if you didn't even know, as a New Englander, you recognize each other somehow. I don't know why, but you can.
Yes, he was from West Newbury, Mass, I believe. Yeah, I was on so many different shows with his dad for like so many years. It was so funny. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I did not know you were both from Massachusetts. So we have multiple published authors from Massachusetts. That's amazing. Pro wrestling is alive and well in New England. It's one of the best hot spots, and California is making a huge comeback as a hot spot in wrestling. So that's like super exciting. I hope you guys can make it out to a Lucha Patron show coming up very soon. That would be amazing. I know you guys are definitely busy up and down the East Coast. There is so much wrestling to see. I know you guys are huge fans of Mission Pro Wrestling. There is so much great stuff out there. I want you guys to be able to experience as much of it as you like. That would be super cool. Before I go, I just want to give a quick shout out to Lucha Patron for having me with you guys today. For anybody who's watching and or listening, you can see me wrestle live for Lucha Patron on April 16th of this year at the Santa Rosa Vets Hall. I had an open challenge, which was answered by none other than Lucian Delight, whose client was the last person I wrestled for Lucha Patron in January of 2020, Nina from the Philippines. You know, he's kind of sticking his nose in my business, so I'm going to have to teach him what we do in Massachusetts, which is we don't leave the trash in the house, we take it out. So that's all I got to say about that. So I hope you guys, thank you so much for having me and putting me over so much. That was amazing. And I love getting to talk about all things wrestling and books. And I just had a great time with you guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And where can folks find you on all the socials?
Absolutely. Let me go on that laundry list real quick. I am sorry, they're not all the same. There were fake me's on the social media platforms before the real me kind of got the scoop to go on those platforms. So on Twitter, you can find me with @Taeler_Hendrix. On Instagram, you can find me at Taeler Hendrix ROH. Ring of Hendrix. And you can find me on YouTube with youtube.com/Taeler Hendrix. And then I publish all of my stuff with Fightful.com, so you can find those on Twitter or on Google. And then my podcast is live every Tuesday, like was said in the intro, with Talks with Taeler Hendrix on russosbrand.com with Channel Attitude. And then you can find tickets, which are selling very fast for Lucha Patron, with luchapatron.com. And then all of my books, soon to be 4 children's books, and my first novel, Behind These Whispering Walls, will be available very soon on on Amazon, and my first book, It's Not Easy Being a Sloth, is also available on barnesandnobles.com. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome.
Wow.
Thank you, Taylor. Have a great evening.
You too.
How cool is that?
My goodness.
She's so cool, right?
She's so cool.
Great interview, guys.
I could have talked to her for another 2 hours. So
I know. Well, I wanted to be respectful of her time. I wasn't sure how
Yeah.
long we had her. So I think she has so much going on. I think we'll be seeing her again on the show at some point soon. Hijacker, thanks for reaching out to Lucha Patron for making all that happen. And hopefully she had a good time, good chat tonight. But yeah, like we talked about, like we met Taylor 6 years ago at Queens of Combat, and that was a show that had Taylor versus Angelina Love for the title. It was Sue Young and Tessa and Rachel Ellering and Savannah Evans, and I mean, like,
was that the parking lot?
No, this was at the convention center at 2 in the afternoon. This was the first time we saw Sue Young, actually.
Yeah. Was that Thunder Kitty was there too, right?
Yes, Thunder Kitty was there too. Yeah.
My favorite.
And we became fans, and going to the shows all over the place. But she was there.
And Sue Young fell in my lap. So
she did.
That was fun. She did. And I hurt. She didn't. She fell like from about 6 feet and actually hurt my knee. And she just walked away. And the same thing with Diamante. Those women are tough. They weigh a lot more than you think they do, man. They're solid.
They're all muscle. Yep. Okay, so we've got a few minutes left. I just want to touch on a few things. I do want to give a shout out to Thunder Rosa, who's defending her Warrior Wrestling title tonight against Athena, formerly known as Ember Moon. I honestly don't know what to expect from this match because both of them are super hard hitting, very physical, snug wrestlers, and it's going to be a war. So, and I know Thunder's not real keen on giving up her title anytime soon.
She shouldn't.
No. And honestly, it's one of my favorite titles. The thing looks badass.
Yeah, it does. I'm sure LaGreca is not too fond of that title though for getting hit with it.
That is the title that she attacked him with. That was pretty good. Just a couple more things. So we saw a lot of stuff happen this week, man. It was a big week in wrestling, and I don't want to cram it all into like 15 minutes, but Keith Lee debuted. And this was kind of a surprise, like, because there are so many free agents out there. There's always somebody suggesting everybody. But I was so excited the reaction that he got from the crowd, and they were singing "Bask in His Glory," and like the way that he was presented, in such a dominant fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm excited to see what he's going to do. So who are some of the guys in AEW that you guys want to see him work with?
Well, of course, I want to see Miro when he comes back. I want to see Miro and Keith Lee match up with each other. I want to see Keith Lee against Lance Archer. I want to see Keith Lee against Powerhouse Hobbs. I mean, Wardlow. I mean, you're going to have – I mean, he's going to match up really well with those guys that I mentioned. I don't know what you think, Hijacker, but that's my picks.
No, that you summed it up all right there. You want to see him go up against the powerhouses in AEW. You want to see him do what he was supposed to do in WWE. What he was doing in NXT, he wasn't allowed to do on the main show on the big screen. He wasn't allowed to do that, or the main roster. He wasn't allowed to do that on the main roster, and it was a shame. So now I think the beast is loose. And we're going to see what Keith Lee can really do. So bring on any and everybody in AEW, and let's see what happens.
So I have a different take on this because I'm a big fan of the Styles Make fights. I like the big man matchups. That's all great. Those are Haas fights, and it is what it is, the heavyweight things. But give me Keith Lee versus Sammy Guevara. I want to see that. Give me Keith Lee versus Darby Allin. I want to see that interesting Styles matchup because those guys, the faster, smaller guys against someone like Keith Lee, who is really fast for a guy that's like 340, I think they can make for really interesting matchups.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about. I do want to touch on the Mission Pro pay-per-view coming up soon. We'll probably cover that in just a minute, but Jay White showed up, and I think it was interesting because Tony Khan had sent a tweet out the previous week saying that the forbidden door would be opening again, and someone's going to come in, and this person was going to be a free agent signing. And he worded the tweet in a way that led us to believe that it was a new signing, not really a forbidden door thing. So I got to give him credit. He took to social media and he said, yeah, I worded it wrong. I'm going to make good on it. So he signs Keith Lee. And then on the same show, we see Jay White from New Japan show up in a backstage segment. And I was like, all right, I'm good. This is cool. 2 nice surprises in one night. I have no idea where they're going to go with Jay White. I don't watch a lot of New Japan, but I'm obviously aware of who he is. And I know some of the folks in our group, Neil and Ezra and RA and some other folks watch New Japan. So as that starts to develop, we'll probably bring them into the conversation as well. But did you guys, you knew who Jay White was, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't watch New Japan that much, but I do know that Jay White is really big over there. I do know that he took over for the Bullet Club after Kenny Omega left as the leader of the Bullet Club. So I'm pretty sure that we're going to see something dealing with the Bullet Club coming up in the next few weeks, I'm sure.
So Shannon, I want to ask you a question. I know you don't usually watch AEW, but like we always talk about the balance of bringing in new stars versus utilizing people who already work there. Do you have a preference as to whether they should keep bringing? Is it like, do you think that they're going to continue to bring new audience in with big star signings, or do you think that they need to work more with the talent they have on the roster?
I think if you bring in somebody huge, it's always going to bring those people over. CM Punk is always going to draw people, right? Because they love him and they're going to watch him. I think you run in the beginning when they brought over talent, you say, well, they're fluffing up their ranks. They needed people. And then at some point they get a lot of people, and then you get the people dropping back down to the mid card and then just dropping off entirely. And so you have the same thing that you have at every company when they get a little bit too big. Then you have people who don't get the opportunities, and that they sit in the back, or they show up and they're on for 4-minute matches every X amount of weeks. So it's difficult to say. You want to go to a show that has like that person that you want to see, and you want to be surprised with this huge announcement. There's also something to be said for somebody coming over and finally making something out of themselves. And you're like, oh, they were suffering, and catering all those years, and look at they could do amazing things that we didn't know until they had this chance.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point, because if you guys have been following social media, Hikaru Shida has been tweeting a lot lately about the fact that she's sitting in catering. And she's, they've had all these new signings, AEW, and Tony Khan even said in a tweet earlier this week that he was not going to be renewing some contracts based on the size of the roster. And that makes sense from a business standpoint, right? If you have 100 people and you need 80, well, 20 need to go. That doesn't mean you have to fire 20 people, but maybe you don't renew the contracts of the people who you don't have value in. Hikaru Shida is one of the best, probably top 3 or 4 female wrestlers in AEW, and one of the best wrestlers on the card entirely. I have no idea why they're not doing more with her. I know that she's storyline injured. I don't know if it's a real injury or not, but she's been very vocal about the fact that, hey, I'm here in catering again. Really like watching wrestling on the big screen back here. And I feel for someone like her, and she commented on how there's a gap because of the language barrier, and I think that's a terrible statement. Other companies have figured out how to use people who don't speak English as a first language successfully. Why not AEW? Hijacker, your thoughts on that?
It's crazy, man. It's a dog eat dog world. 1 minute you're on top of the food chain and you're up there taking on everybody, and then at the snap of a finger, you're at the bottom looking up, trying to get yourself back in the game. It's tough. It's all well proven in WWE the best, and I know AEW is going to hit that point where they're going to have to start doing it, because right now they're adding some good talent, but how long can they keep all this talent on there? How long can all this talent stay in the public's eye? And because you can't stay on Dark your whole career. You want to make it to you want to make it to TNT, TBS. You want to be on TV. You want to be on Rampage. You want to be on Dynamite. You can't sit. I don't want to say Dark is the minor leagues, but that's where up and comers go to get their start and be like, hey, you know what? We have something here. Let's bring them up eventually. Let's put them down here for 4, 5, 6 matches. You know what? Now let's bring them up to the main roster on the big lights and see what they can do. But it's a tough game, and it's hard to keep yourself reinvented in the situation and going.
I think it's still nice for them to be able to have some other place to go, though, because for so long it was you're in WWE or you're in some armory. Why is it always an armory? Do armories do anything else but armory someplace in the middle of nowhere in front of 42 people? And there was no in between. You were this or you were this, and that was it. And so now it's nice that there are other companies, at least, for them to go and try again and reinvent themselves.
Yeah. Whenever, speaking of the armory, whenever I was booking, I had a promotion that I was working with down here a few years back, and the armory here in Palestine was one of the places that we were trying to run, and they just we could never get a hold to anybody over there, so we wound up having to run in the Civic Center. But everyone always asks about the armory, so yeah, it's something about the armory. It just has special wrestling power.
It's the independent show's Golden Palace, man.
Oh.
Well, something else that happened in AEW this week that was really important to us, on Rampage last night, Robin Renegade had a match against, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And I don't think anybody thought that she was going to win. However, they had like an 8-minute match across 2 segments. And, Robin Renegade being one half of the Renegade Twins, the current Mission Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions and CCW Tag Team Champions, Twins 2 belts. I was super excited that she had the opportunity. When we heard that she had wrestled on the Rampage taping, we were really excited. We had heard it went well. And seeing it play out, man, the twins are very young. I think they're like 21 or something like that. And they're working very hard. They're training. We know from Thunder's vlog that they've moved to San Antonio and they're training like pretty much every day with folks there. To see the opportunity that they had, or that Robin had, and the way that everything went down. And then at the end to see Thunder come in and make the save. It was just a perfect 10-minute segment for me as fans of all of the people involved and the Mission Pro tie-in and all that stuff. So I want to give a shout out to Robin Renegade and the Renegade Twins. For those of you guys who have seen them in person, they really have something special. And I know, Tony, you got to see them wrestle recently.
Yeah, Sean got to see him really up close and personal back in November.
He did.
But yeah, I've met both.
You should clarify that. Hang on, Tony. You need to clarify that a bit. You can't just hang on to that. That sounds terrible.
They were interacting with Sean at ringside there during the match.
There we go.
And they were sitting there for Jasmine Allure's match, and they were outside the ring, and of course Sean, interacting with them, standing up. And they were telling him to sit down, and they were in his face and all that stuff. It was amazing to be there live and see that. But yeah, Money Mark was there. He was there, and it was awesome. But it was funny. But yes, the Renegade Twins are an amazing duo. I cannot wait to see what's in store for them both, and to hear that they're training and getting better. Oh my God, if they're getting better than what they are now, watch out.
Yeah, in fact, they're going to be defending their titles at No Debes Jugar, the new pay-per-view on March 5th for Mission Pro against Team Bougie Reality, Maddie Rankowski and Rache Chanel. And I've been singing the praises of Rache Chanel for months now because she started out as being this sort of gimmicky thing, and she's just worked so hard to get better in the ring to the point where now she's having banger matches. And teaming her with Maddie, who's just been such a big part of Mission Pro. We saw her in the NWA recently at the tapings. We've seen Maddie at AEW. She's all over the place, doing big things. So I don't know that these 2 women are a cohesive tag team enough to take the titles off the twins, but I think it's going to be a great match. There's some other matches on this card that are really interesting to me. Our friend JP Harlow has a match against Khan, and the guy's a beast. He's a monster. I don't know how JP got himself into this level of trouble, but it's not going to go well for him. And you guys have seen JP in person and seen him wrestle. He's great, but Khan's
Yeah,
huge.
he's awesome. Yeah, he's not very big, but he's great.
Yeah.
He'll have the fight of his life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Someone else returning to Mission Pro that I'm super excited about is Janai Kai. You know, we saw Janai and Thunder have a match last year that was, I had never seen Janai wrestle before. And she's she's an accomplished martial artist, and her kicks and strikes are no joke. Very snappy, very powerful. And she has a match with Jody Threat, who's, a veteran in the business, and she was recently in Mission Pro. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. I don't know that Jody's ready for Janai. We've seen Janai all over the place. Recently, I think she was in Bloodsport. I'm pretty sure she was in Bloodsport last year. So that's going to be fun. But the match that I'm really looking forward to, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on this. Right now, the champion is Holiday. However, Holiday was injured at the last pay-per-view. Is she going to come back? Is she going to have to relinquish her title? All I know is the match graphic has Jasmine Allure and La Rosa Negra and Holiday. Is it going to be a triple threat? Is it going to be a match for the vacant title? I don't know. But I like all three of these people, and I guarantee you it's going to be great.
Right.
Definitely.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one hell of a match. Alidette, if she's able to go, she's going to come for us for keep saying and banger. She's going to come for us. But she can go. La Rosa Negra could go, and Jasmine can go. So if this turns into a triple threat, I think this could be one of Mission Pro's matches of the year. If she's able to go. If it's a one-on-one between Jasmine and La Rosa Negra, then that'll be a good match in itself. But if Holiday is added to the mix, look out, man. That would be worth the admission just getting in the show.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
So, Shannon, would you prefer to see a triple threat match or the one-on-one contest?
Yes, we talk about this a lot, and I am not a fan of. I find that a lot of times they will do things like put a lot of women in a match for a variety of reasons. It's 6, whatever, to just try to get more people out there. And rarely, and you'll notice, rarely do the big companies put just 2 women out there. They walk out with somebody else interferes. But there's always multiple women. 2 women can hold the damn ring by themselves. They don't need company. They don't need somebody running in. They don't need to be walked out by somebody. There are plenty of women. 2 women in a ring can have a perfectly great match all on their own. We don't need to. Triple threats, when you have great people, it's going to be a great match, is one thing. But we shouldn't rely on just having multiple people to hold their interests. Too many women can do it all on their own. They don't need the help.
Yeah, and I agree, because we saw last night on SmackDown, the main event of SmackDown was Charlotte Flair and Naomi, and it was a 30-plus minute match to end the show. And they tore the friggin' house down. Like, it was unbelievable. Go back and watch it if you haven't seen it yet. Yes, Ronda came out at the end, but that was post-match. That was to set up their WrestleMania feud. That's fine. I totally get that. And it set up the match that we're going to see at Elimination Chamber, which is Ronda and Naomi versus Charlotte and Sonya Deville. I'm not a fan of the Saudi shows. I probably won't be watching the Saudi shows, but the women do have 3 out of the 7 matches on the card. So it's probably overall going to be a good show. But yeah.
Do you know, and I just wanted to drop this one fact in, that WWE has been running shows in Saudi 4 years longer than women have been able to enter sports stadiums.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah,
That's
they were
news
just
right
given
there.
the right to ride bicycles in 2013. So,
Man.
yeah, it's hard because you don't want your sports entertainment to not be just, entertaining. You don't want to mix with anything else. But the Saudi one, I think a lot of people have an issue with it. And it's a tough one.
It is, and you want to believe that progress is happening, and we don't see everything, so we don't really know what the political machinations are. Is this all for show? Probably, but the women are getting opportunities, so I'm happy for them. It's sort of a mixed bag for me, but I don't typically watch them. But so we are running out of time. I want to talk really quickly about Dynamite next week, because Dynamite is stacked. We got Bryan Danielson versus Lee Moriarty. We've got Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin. Jericho and Jake Hager against Santana and Ortiz, and Santana and Ortiz as part of LAX. You just add in people that already work there. Eddie Kingston and Diamante were part of LAX. Put the four of them together. Like, what are we doing here? Like, we're from Queens of Combat. We're big fans of Diamante. Like,
Yes,
you already have a built-in story. So I'm hoping that grows into something larger, because the promo that Santana cut on Jericho this week was fire. I didn't know he could cut those kind of promos.
Yeah,
yes.
man,
I mean,
that was insane.
The way he grabbed Jericho's throat at the end of the just grabbed him by the throat and pushed him back. That was, I never knew that he had that in him, but that just goes to show you, you put the mic in someone's hand and and just lightning in a bottle. Let's see what happens with it.
Yeah, with Sammy walking off, is Jake gonna do the same thing? Is he gonna bail out on Jericho? Because right now he looked a little puzzled when they were having their confrontation. He looked a little like, but we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. This has got some excitement building behind it right now.
Yeah, it does. And the other big match that's scheduled for Dynamite, of course, is Mercedes Martinez versus Thunder Rosa. We saw Thunder come in to the aid of Robin Renegade, and Mercedes was out there, and of course Britt and Jamie Hayter and Mercedes ganged up on Thunder, gave her a beatdown. Is Thunder going to find some friends? We know she has friends. Are they going to show up? Like, we know that she's been teaming with Ruby Soho and Dark. So I'm going to be interested to see what happens on Wednesday as far as that goes. And it's a no DQ match, so it's not going to be like, at least we don't have to worry about the officiating, which is always a criticism for us. So before we wrap, is there anything else you guys wanted to hit on? I know we ran a few minutes over tonight, but we had such a good conversation with Taylor. I think it's worth the extra time.
Oh, man, let's keep
the only thing I wanted to mention
going.
was, only thing I wanted to mention was just kind of touch on the Texas Death Match from Wednesday night. Lance Archer versus Hangman Adam Page. I mean, that match was awesome. If you have not seen that match, go back and watch it. Oh my God, they were bleeding buckets out there.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that was super physical. And I heard some criticism online about the fact that Archer didn't win. And you go, yeah, but he wasn't going to win. Like, they're telling the story of Hangman Adam Page being this dominant champion, and it's interesting to me, like, he is having to work for that title. Like, all of his matches are wars. There are no squashes. They're 30 to 60 minutes. I mean, they are like, he is just going through the ringer just to keep that thing. I think that's smart, because it also it keeps sympathy from the crowd on Hangman, because oftentimes when your favorite becomes champion, people go, oh, well, they're champion now, I don't have to support them more. It gets stale or whatever. But I feel like these matches are giving, and they're showing different layers to Hangman as a competitor. Like, I didn't know he could do what he did with Danielson.
Yeah.
So yeah. I like what they're doing with him specifically. I don't know what they're going to do with Lance Archer, but as you said, hey, here's Keith Lee. So maybe that'll work out.
Yeah. Well, no, in my mood, Raw has kind of picked its steam up a little bit the last couple episodes since the Rumble. So my thing is, let's keep heading positive towards WrestleMania with that. But the biggest thing to me from Monday night was from The Miz. He finally said a quote he hasn't said in a while. When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut. And I popped when he literally said that, because that was one of my things. My son would run around the house saying that. He'd either say, he'd run around the house saying, don't be a lemon, be a rose, bud. Or he would come up to me like, Dad, when my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut. So I was glad to hear that again after a couple of years of not hearing it.
That's funny. And it's funny, too, because Taeler Hendrix was a rosebud.
That's true, wasn't she?
And she was.
Yep.
All right, cool. Well, Shannon, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for
Appreciate you
having
coming.
me, allowing me to come and talk to Taeler, and that was awesome. And for taking up one of your swears, I appreciate it, y'all.
Okay, Tony, where can everybody find you on the socials?
Well, if you look right down there, you'll see Twitter at Tony Justice AJFA. And if you are a Metallica fan, you know what that means, brother.
Hijacker.
You guys can catch me on Twitter at Mr. Mac. Same thing like Tony's, right down around here. I do pop up occasionally on the Nation's Corner. I also pop up on Sports Show. I do the work behind the scene for both shows. I also have my show, Nation Night Fights, that I do try to run episodes for boxing when I can, if I'm not busy running around with work and the kids, the family. I get there. But you guys can follow me on social media. Just look for Mr. Mac or Hijacker Mike.
Very cool. And I am PW Front Row, and I do want to give a shout out to the Our Nation Sports Show, because they moved nights recently to Tuesday night, and they've got a pretty strong following over there. So they run Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on YouTube. I know they're looking to get that 100 subscriber counts. They can get a custom URL. So y'all go out there and give them a subscribe and check them out on Tuesday nights. We'd appreciate it.
Do it.
And our show is Nation's Corner on Twitter. Everything else pretty much is the Nation's Corner. And we're looking to start streaming on Twitch maybe next week or the week after, once I get everything set up. So it'll be in addition to, not instead of. So it'll just be another opportunity or another venue for folks to check out the show on a weekly basis. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Appreciate everybody joining us tonight. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Right on, y'all.